So if you do this long enough, I promise you, you will be a millionaire. It's as simple as that. However, as with all things that sound amazing to achieve, there is some level of sacrifice required on your part. Because nothing I will ever talk about on this channel will come without sacrifice. Yes, I can try and show you quick ways or better ways to do things easier or with less heartache than myself, but you do need to sacrifice on some level. And of course, with what I'm about to speak to you about today, you need to be patient. If you can be patient and have some level of delayed gratification and not like 99% of today's society who want it yesterday, then I promise you, you will become a millionaire in your lifetime if you implement what I'm about to teach you in today's video. So I don't know about you, but growing up for me, the possibility of ever becoming a millionaire in my life was a pipeline dream. The thought of trying to make £1 million without being, the founder of the new Facebook or Snapchat or YouTube or Amazon or Apple just seemed impossible, especially through a normal 9 to 5. But for us mere mortals like myself and maybe some of you guys watching this, there is a way on the side that we can become millionaires at some stage in our lives, depending on how consistent we are and also how much we're willing to sacrifice today for a better tomorrow. And the best bit about it, well, you can start from as little as $50. Now that's like £36, give or take, which is unreal if you ask me. We can start our investing journey as early as possible, no matter where you're starting from. And to be honest, that's literally just like my Just Eat bill every single Friday. On that note, I should probably eat less. Now, remember, this is not financial advice, as I don't want to get into trouble or anything like that. But hypothetically speaking, if I was 18, I would be all over this like a rash. Because one of my things that I get a little annoyed with myself is I started investing late, 25 to be exact, as you've seen in this video. And if I had done this, I would have had 7 years of potentially amazing returns. But we live and learn. And I hope anyone watching this, even if you're older than 18, knows that we still have many years left in us. And although the best time to start investing was X number of years ago, the second best time to invest is always today. So all we gotta do is start. And just before I jump into it, just to let you know, this isn't something I'm promoting solely to you guys without doing it myself. Throughout my videos on this channel, I will update you with my journey of my own investments into what I'm about to speak about. So hopefully you know that you're not doing it by yourself, and it's actually something I truly believe in. Because I want to, one, beat inflation, but also I want to one day in the future know that one of my side ventures has created over £1 million for future generations after me. Which sounds pretty cool, right? So with that, let's jump straight into where I would regularly start investing my money for long-term gains if I could go back knowing what I know right now. So drum roll please. The S&P 500. Now for any of the newbies amongst us watching this, don't worry. Once upon a time, I simply didn't have a Scooby-Doo what it stood for, what it was about, or anything around it. So what I'm gonna do is break that down very quickly for you all now. The S&P 500 basically stands for the Standard & Poor's 500 Index, and it's basically an index fund that tracks the performance of 500 publicly traded US companies. So you've got your Apple, your Amazon, your Microsoft, your Facebooks, etc, etc. They're all kind of featured in this. And it covers companies across 11 different types of sectors, basically giving kind of like an indication of the health of the US stock market and economy. Now, there are many of these available that pretty much all do the same thing, such as the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, which you may be familiar with, the SPDR S&P 500 ETF, and the SPDR Portfolio S&P 500 Growth. There's so many more. Now, in case you're wondering what types of companies are featured in this, or what kind of company do you need to be part of this, you'll be happy to know there is an eligibility criteria they must undergo, which includes the following. So just have a quick look at that, because basically the companies will have to adhere to this in order to be featured. Now the one that I invest in personally is this one, and if you click the link in my bio below, it's going to cost you nothing by the way, you can trade where I trade, which is on etoro, which has 0% commissions, and you can start with as little as $50. Plus, if you don't feel comfortable initially, one of the great things that I did a long time ago was I started copy trading people and using fake money. So that was a really cool thing. But I'm happy to do a video on that if you want me to run through how I use eToro, if you think that would be useful. But it is quite simple to use. So check that in the link below. Now with that said, let's look at what the average return rate is for the S&P 500, because that's what you really care about, right? Well, since its inception in 1926, through to 2018, the average returns were 10 to 11%, which is pretty remarkable when you think about it. But I know that's a very broad range as it covers a 92-year span, and many of us are now thinking about investing today. However, a recent report from Goldman Sachs reported the S&P 500 has done 13.6% in the last 10 years. Now, of course, that doesn't mean every year will yield those results, but Berkshire Hathaway shows some interesting recent data too on the returns, tracking it back to 1965, showing the compounded annual gain in the S&P 500 between 1965 and 2020 to be 10.2%, which for me is still a bit of a saucy return. However, I would be doing you guys a disservice if I didn't share that not every year is the same. This is not something that will rack up 13% or 10% every single year. There are years where you will get slightly lower returns, but the general rule of thumb with the S&P Index 500 fund is something I'm doing, remember, based on my own research, is to have the view of holding your investments and buying for the long term, i.e. 10 plus years at a bare minimum. And Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of our time, stated the best way to build wealth is to keep investments for the long term, which is a strategy often known as a buy and hold investing. So if you can take that perspective and have the patience to just invest in the market as and when you can, into the S&P for example, over a long enough period of time, you will see yourself having incredible compound results, which I'm now about to show you right now. These are some of the results that you can potentially get. So, example, let's imagine you invested £500 every single month for the next 25 years. You would have a total of just shy of £600,000. Do that for another 5 years, and this is where it gets even saucier, is £995,688.84. Now I know, depending on your situation and your age, that £500 may be too little or maybe even too much in some circumstances. However, what is interesting is when you start getting further into the years, the rate at which the returns you get increases significantly. It's almost like the longer you stay in it, the quicker and bigger the returns are, i.e. the richer and richer you get. Because check this, if you stay for 35 years as opposed to 25 years, and I know you're thinking, come on dude, that is like ages, just hear me out. You will end up with you'll end up with over £1.65 million. Now given that in 25 years you can get 600k, you've almost multiplied that by 2.7 times with only an extra 10 years, which in the grand scheme of things is 40% of the overall initial time. And for me, that's just great maths. That's amazing maths. And I hope that is for you guys too. So work on how much you can save, how much you can sacrifice, and how much you can put into this maybe on a monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis to get a future venture sorted for yourself and get yourself to that millionaire status. So please do give that a shot, and don't forget the etoro link is down below. So if you found any of this useful, obviously a like for the YouTube algorithm will be greatly appreciated. But I just want to take this moment to say thank you to anyone who's still with me right now for sticking around when you guys could have been doing anything, but you chose to spend a few moments with me. I truly, truly appreciate that. And of course, if you have any questions, I'll try my absolute best to try and respond and help you down below. And until next time, happy investing and have an awesome day, guys.